कमाल है. You from MT to MD. You've been with Asian Paints, and it's a company and a brand that has grown fantastically well. It evolves, and you've been driving that evolution. We will talk about that.
I think it's a journey. It continues. It is like a mountain which has no peak. What we pride ourselves is that we are amongst the top 5 in the architectural coatings world. So we are amongst the top 5 global companies in terms of where we are.
Wonderful.
And secondly, we are the world's second best, most valuable brand across the world in terms of the coating space. Today, I feel that reputation is both top down and bottom up. Everything is related to reputation. Today, home reflects the personality of the people who stay within, and therefore Har Ghar really appropriates that in a very strong manner.
Right.
So when we kind of looked at, so it's not literally bringing back the campaign, it is reliving the campaign in terms of what we see, because the essence of emotion remains the same. It is timeless.
Imagine that you have just gone into the home of a potential customer who wants some work done at their home by Asian Paints. What would you tell them? Why choose Asian Paints?
I think it is a very essential thing that as an organization, we continuously nurture that culture, so that from a point of view of reputation today, people talk of the certain values which the organization has. There is a relationship which is paramount with both the external and the internal stakeholder which we bring, and it has the bedrock of integrity.
Hello and welcome to MVP, the Master's Voice podcast from Mediabrief.com. I'm your host and friend Pawan R. Chawla, and I'm delighted to welcome to this episode Amit Syngle, who is MD and CEO of Asian Paints, India's biggest paint and decor solutions company, and also one of India's most respected and admired heads of business. That is Amit Syngle, and also he's into brand building and has actually always worked very hard to continue the beautiful, wonderful Asian Paints legacy in India and its growth. Amit, welcome to the episode, and thank you ever so much for your time.
And thank you so much for really that introduction. I think that's really great to kind of hear you in terms of speaking about the brand and speaking about all of us.
Very kind of you to host us also over here. And thanks also to Amrita Sadhu and the team from Madison PR. It's my format. I always thank people who do good work, and you have a very good agency, so you're in good comms hands. So they made this interaction possible. So Amit, before I continue, I mean, as our viewers can see, we are guests at the beautiful Asian Paints, 100,000 square feet setup, which is the Nilaya Anthology at Peninsula Corporate Park in Mumbai. It's fantastic. It's like a giant Asian Paints home decor super stadium. So thank you for hosting us, Amit. And before I continue, I also want to tell our viewers a little something about trying to place this fantastic brand, this great legacy brand of India, in some context for them. 80 years of fantastic legacy, number one. And Asia's second largest and India's largest by far paints and home decor company. And turnover of close to a mind-boggling 34,000 crores, give or take a few crores. I'm not very sure about the latest numbers, but it's around that. And also 26 perhaps paint manufacturing facilities in India and across the world, serving consumers and customers in 60 countries. Kamal hai. You from MT to MD. You've been with Asian Paints, and it's a company and a brand that has grown fantastically well. It evolves, and you've been driving that evolution. We will talk about that. Driving and supporting it. He's very self-effacing. For him, Asian Paints is first and the most important. And we all know that this is a brand which is fantastically well known across. So let's start with the new festive campaign, Amit.
But before you start, I wanted to just also add 2 things in terms of what you said, which is
please.
So one is that you spoke about Asia and India. I think what we pride ourselves is that we are amongst the top 5 in the architectural coatings world. So we are amongst the top 5 global companies in terms of where we are.
Wonderful.
And secondly, we are the world's second best, most valuable brand across the world in terms of the coating space. So I think that is something which we really marvel ourselves in terms of how as a brand we have evolved over the last 8 decades in terms of what has been there. And I think the journey has been nothing but emotional and something which is with a lot of passion in terms of what I think overall the Asian Paints team has driven.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Amit. And in fact, the word emotional brings to mind the new festive campaign, Har Ghar Kuch Kehta Hai. I have watched it with you just now before we began shooting this episode, and it is wonderful. First, let me roll it for our viewers also.
Sure.
हर घर चुपचाप से ये कहता है कि अंदर इसमें कौन रहता है। कौन यहाँ दीवारों को अपना टच देता है। कौन रसोई में ही ऑफिस बना लेता है। कौन यहाँ पेट्स को खुद के नाम से बुलाता है।
आ गया जी गरम गरम पराठा।
कौन मेहमानों को रिश्तेदार की तरह खिलाता है। कौन यहाँ उल्टी नाव चलाता है। कौन वक्त के साथ बदलाव लाता है पर यादों को नहीं भुलाता है। हर घर चुपचाप से ये कहता है कि अंदर इसमें कौन रहता है। एशियन पेंट्स, क्योंकि हर घर कुछ कहता है।
ब्यूटिफुल अमित। आई वॉज वंडरिंग, पहले मैं सोच रहा था यार वापस क्यों लेके आ रहे हैं पुराना कैंपेन, बट आई एम सो ग्लैड दैट यू डिड. Absolutely deserve to be back. And the one word that you spoke about, emotion, is so richly smattered across this entire campaign. But मैं नहीं इसकी बात करूँगा. आप मुझे बताइए what has changed in this version, what is different in the campaign now, you know, and why you picked this.
So I think the essence of the brand has been always in terms of looking at owning homes in a very big way.
Right.
And I think when we started way back in 2002, when we first brought the whole area of Har Ghar, the whole idea was that we own the emotions which are around the homemaking. Right. And that is something which we said that today home really embraces all of that, and we should kind of own that as a brand as we go forward. Correct. And we also felt that today home is a reflection of the people who stay within to that extent. And this was one way in terms of we saw that today home reflects the personality of the people who stay within, and therefore Har Ghar really appropriates that in a very strong manner. Right. So when we kind of looked at, so it's not literally bringing back the campaign, it is reliving the campaign in terms of what we see, because the essence of emotion remains the same. It is timeless. It is the whole area of belongingness. It is the whole area in terms of love. It is the whole area of identity which kind of stays timeless in terms of what we see. And we said that Asian Paints has always stood from the point of view of saying that we are about bringing joy and happiness to human lives.
Right.
And today home is one appropriation where we bring that whole thing alive to that extent. And therefore we see that today the campaign is something which is very much within the times in terms of how lifestyles have evolved, how aspirations have changed, how generations have evolved today, and how possibly today a home embraces all generations staying together. And the whole thing of bringing the inclusivity of all generations with a common emotion which is about owning the home really becomes very, very strong. And that is why we said that nothing better in terms of taking Piyush Pandey's lines and really kind of weaving the stories which are very much within the times which we live in today, and really make it much more relevant, so that the emotion which is timeless really kind of comes out beautifully in terms of looking at it. And therefore we think that this emotional chord is the flag bearer with us, and this is something which will always stay. So this is really taking the campaign to the next level in terms of making it so relevant in the current times.
And you know, before having watched this campaign, a question in my mind was that Asian Paints has always grown amazingly well, innovates, kind of refreshes itself. तो मैं ये पूछने वाला था आपसे कि पिछली वाली कैंपेन को आपने इसको कैसे और कंटेम्प्रेरी और फ्रेश कर दिया है. But I got the answer watching it. But you know what I really liked about your campaign is actually the emotions. They are so real and relatable. And I think there are several stories that are unfolding, right? So tell me a little about those stories that are unfolding. I think there are some 5 at least that I caught, but please tell me.
Yeah, so I think the essence of the campaign was to kind of really connect with the today's generation. It was to also connect and bring the whole subtlety in terms of saying that the campaign is quirky, it is subtle, it is modern in that sense, but it is still full of emotion in terms of what it comes in.
वो बच्ची जो
Absolutely. So I think there are about 6 stories.
Six,
which are
okay.
enmeshed,
I thought there were
which are
5,
there
my
to that
mistake.
extent.
Yeah.
And each of the story has a very big emotional touching chord, and it kind of really gets possibly all kind of generations enmeshed in terms of that emotion, in terms of what we speak about celebrating homes
said,
in a
well
very,
said,
very different
well
way.
said.
So I feel that, you know, I love each of the stories, you know, and when people ask me which story would you kind of like, I really like all the stories, but for me, I think the story where possibly the little girl is kind of really remembering, you know, her grandparents and the way she's kind of really giving that emotion, the way it comes out.
It just
I think
got
that's
to be
brilliant. It's just
fabulous,
brilliant, and it kind of gives that tug on your heart to that extent. But I thought the whole idea is to bring the inclusiveness, bring in the lifestyles of the current generation of a younger couple doing up the home themselves and really kind of enjoying the process, to the younger boy who's made the kitchen the office to that extent, and the grandmother really kind of embracing and really, you know, kind of encouraging him to kind of give the best in terms of what could be done. So I think some of the stories are really heart endearing, and to that extent it really brings the whole area of Har Ghar live, showing very clearly that today that every personality is showing within the home, and it's not about only one personality of the home, it is each room, each area of the home which is reflecting that personality and making it so inclusive.
Fantastic. That is the new Har Ghar Kuch Kehta Hai campaign, which you know, Amit and his team have rolled out for Asian Paints just at the beginning of the festive season, you know, in the today. And well, I really wish you well, but I want to add just one tiny little couple of thoughts to what you just beautifully you summed up the campaign and really gave us a very, very succinct account of what are the high points. One fantastic high point was that wonderful elderly couple and you know welcoming a foreigner or somebody else जो family का तो है ही नहीं,
बिल्कुल,
और किस तरह से उसको मतलब मुंह में निवाला दिया और खुशी से खिलाया. Beautiful. And the entire campaign, all the stories are placed in something that perhaps only an Asian Paints could have beautified so nicely. So it's a fantastic presentation of the brand itself, what it can give, and also the stories that are placed. Beautiful. तो बहुत मेहनत इसकी लगी है इसमें, दिल और emotion दोनों हैं.
Yeah, and I would like to add there is that, see, there is a lot of people who have kind of really been involved with a very big passion in this, and I give credit to Piyush as well, because you know, he's been literally the brand guardian in terms of bringing that emotional chord which really touches, and I think each of the elements of the poetry which he crafted, each of the words was something which we dwelled, which we kind of really looked at in terms of how it will unfold. And not only that, we felt that today the whole essence today is that the emotion is timeless, which comes in. And that is something which we need to kind of embrace, because as we kind of go ahead, technology will come in, things will change, generations will be there. But one thing which we would kind of leave the audiences with, that the home emotion is something which is timeless, and we would like to take this share of the heart along with the share of the market.
Beautiful. Share of the market, share of the heart will also, I mean, share of the heart will inspire or tempt others to say, हम अपने घर को भी ऐसा करते हैं.
Absolutely.
And which is why my next question is, what is the business objective of this campaign? I mean, you know, Amit, I have been talking to a lot of leaders, some as, you know, some of your stature also. But I want to hear it from you. I do understand a bit of it. Business objectives क्या हैं, and how far has हर घर कुछ कहता है worked for you in the past, और जो अब हम लोग release कर रहे हैं, आप कर रहे हैं, what do you expect from it?
So first of all, we are in an industry where there is a lot of rationality across the world. A lot of people talk of functional things which come in terms of durability, in terms of whiteness, in terms of coverage, in terms of crack resistance, and so on and so forth. We felt that while that is hygiene, what is very important is how does the brand really touch the people's heart and the mind to that extent. So therefore what we said that the correlation of this thing, that while the industry kind of connects with the mind of the people,
Right.
we connect with the heart, because we felt that that is the umbilical cord in terms of what we can make with the brand in terms of going forward. Because in a competitive world, as we kind of go ahead, for a leader, it is very, very essential that we have a differentiator. We have something which people remember you through all phases of their life, so that when you look at the customer life cycle, in that decor holds a very big piece, and home
Right.
holds a very, very pristine place in terms of what comes in. And if today as a brand, as we kind of go forward, we get that relationship, we get that mind share, we get that heart share as we kind of go forward. This is something which will always keep us really way ahead in terms of what we see in the market to that extent. And today, one of the big purposes from a business point of view is that when a customer thinks of paint, one brand which comes to the person's mind is Asian Paints.
Wonderful, wonderful. I remember it from my childhood. I'm old enough to adopt everybody in this team and older than you too, by far. But honestly, I also remember that when my father first wanted to sort of say, yaar, abhi flat le liya, isko kuch karte hain. He had to wait for a couple of months कि नहीं, we will save to be able to afford the Asian Paints thing.
Yeah.
लगा के भूल जाओ मतलब it's a fact and I am very happy. I mean, गोदरेज का नवताल का ताला लगा के हम चले जाते थे छुट्टियां
Absolutely,
मनाने.
absolutely.
This was as dear and as I think permanent in my memory
Absolutely,
as some of the
absolutely.
best brands. So Asian Paints really is a brand that comes amongst India's top 10 for sure in terms of recall, in terms of the place in the heart. So fantastic, and kudos to you and the entire team, and 80 years of legacy is fantastic, fantastic. अब ये बताइए कि media plan क्या है इस campaign का? What is it for the festive season, Amit? I'm sure it's a campaign that deserves to be on the best of television, the big mass reach ones, and you probably use also the frequency outlets and everything else on
Yeah.
media. So I'm not going to, I'm just guessing here, digital hoga, sab kuch hoga, but ab zara bataएं please. Because there are a lot of young marketers who watch the campaign now and they will want to hear from you, because these are the kind of insights I like to take to our audiences.
See, I think it's a unique way in terms of how we want to take this campaign. We would like to kind of see that the campaign has a lot of bursts around across the year in terms of what we do to that extent. It's not only a concentrated period we work around, and we work with the best of the properties so that we have basically the reach which is unparalleled in terms of what we can reach. So whether it is areas like aligning with KBC or going with the Big Boss, because Big Boss is literally the heart of the home in terms of looking at reaching so many people to that extent.
Can
Or
I
it is-
can I say something?
Yeah.
Just a small
Sure,
thing.
sure.
Please, I'm sorry I interrupted you. I believe Big Boss now in this season, with all the 5 editions, is going to give through entertainment something that will match and even face up to the IPL might
Yes.
in terms of delivery
Sure.
at a lower cost.
Sure.
Sorry, please continue.
No. So I think that that's a thought in terms of aligning with Big Boss very strongly. And not only that, something which is so universal with Indians and everything which connects is cricket. Okay. So we are going to be all over in terms of some of these properties and many more in terms of what is there, along with a host of digital influencers in terms of what we will bring.
Okay.
And that is something which we think that will really take the brand pan-India in terms of what is there,
Absolutely,
create a regional connect which comes in very strongly. And as we go along, basically we have almost about 6 to 7 linguistic versions of Har Ghar, which comes in, which
wonderful.
regionally connect with people through the digital influencers and some of the digital properties and media properties in terms of what we are kind of taking.
Fantastic.
So the plan is fairly unique in terms of looking at saying, one, we are thinking pan-India.
Right.
Second, we are talking of a lot of powerful and short bursts which come in. Third, we are talking of properties which possibly connect very strongly with the audiences like ABC and Big Boss, I said.
Yes,
and then use a lot of these digital influencers to kind of really see that the connection is far more than the conventional media, and it really touches people across regions to that extent in a very different way.
Beautiful. You know, it reminds me sometimes, or with such a big thing for such a big India's largest and Asia's second biggest brand, you can't cross a chasm in two small jumps. बड़ी चीज कर रहे हैं आप.
Absolutely.
And really it's going to definitely, I'm sure it will benefit the brand, and I'm just adding to what I think is going to be the fruits of your wisdom and your entire media team and your media agency and the buyers and everybody who plans it with you.
Yeah.
And from here, let's come to the broader basic marketing vision that Asian Paints is driven by. Amit, just give us a little something on that. And how does it shape your campaigns and consumer engagement, the marketing philosophy?
So I think one of the bigger areas in terms of how we look at is that consumer is the center point in terms of our entire brand strategy. So always our eyes and ears, everything we look at in terms of seeing how we can envelop the consumer very, very strongly. And the epicenter of that is homes in a very big way. Correct. So how we keep on embracing the homes, how we kind of enveloping the homes, how we make the homes far more inclusive, not only from the point of view of innovation we bring, from the point of view of colors, products, decor in terms of what we embrace. It's also about the connectedness to the brand in terms of what we keep on inculcating to that extent. Correct. So as we kind of go forward, I think this whole core thought of saying that Asian Paints is about bringing joy and happiness to people's lives, and we would need that home as a space where we will kind of continue to kind of embrace people, continue to kind of involve people in terms of going forward, would be the core thought which will always remain. And all our actions, all our kind of marketing tools are geared towards the fact that we continue to own the customer decor life cycle. In terms of saying that when the customer thinks about renting a home, to owning the first home, doing the renovation, getting into a second home, getting into a kid's home, Asian Paints is always there as a very strong tool with the connectedness and the emotion of a home which Har Ghar brings. At the same time, it has the whole area of innovativeness which brings the whole world of colors. It brings the world of textures, it brings the whole world of decor alive for the customer. So that customer is really convinced that if they are talking of homes of future, if they are talking of homes which are tech-led, homes which are possibly in with the times, they get the best thing from Asian Paints, and that is what we fulfill as a brand strategy.
Wonderful. So your marketing is absolutely always driven by great relevance, great contemporary work, and also obviously the underlying emotion that ties everybody together. Absolutely. Wonderful. So, Amit, moving to the paints and decor industry, as the leader of such a huge, fantastic entity, along with your team, of course, and I'm sure, and you have a fantastic board to guide you also. So we won't go there, but I'll just ask you about the industry. Give me a snapshot of how large the paints and decor industry is in India today, and where Asian Paints stands within that competitive landscape in terms of share and leadership. We know you're India's biggest by far, but just the size of the market and what is the share that you have?
So overall, when you look at the paint market is very big. If you look at the paint and coatings market, it's almost about 80,000 crores. Right. That's the size of the market, and today we feel that we have a large share in terms of what is there, and that is why what we have been propelling very clearly is that we kind of really look at various aspects of this market in terms of embracing decor, embracing things like waterproofing, which is a very strong solution-oriented approach in terms of coming, embracing durability, which is the whole story about warranties in terms of what we offer, and warranty being
Please tell us a little more about the warranties, because I think that is what's going to also get new converts from the back of beyond also, and it's a very strong warranty.
So I think, and bringing warranties into the place so that we can stand out and continue with the leadership in this whole area in a very, very strong manner to that extent. And before I speak of warranty, I think the other thing is that we have also kind of really got into the world of decor very strongly. If you look at the decor industry, it's almost double the size of the paint and coating industry to that extent. So we thought it is a natural extension for Asian Paints to kind of get into decor, because when you own homes from the point of view of a share of surface, it's better to kind of also look at the share of space within the homes, so that possibly you own the full home in terms of going forward to that extent. And therefore we today claim to be, you know, a #1 integrated home decor player as well, and we've got into lot many categories like kitchens, bath, lighting, furniture, and so on and so forth to that extent. And everything comes in with a ring of saying that there is a credence, there is a credibility in terms of what we offer to the consumer, and therefore everything gets enveloped in this whole area of looking at that you can trust this brand from the point of view of the legacy, the quality in terms of what we offer, and that's how the warranty comes in. And therefore, you know, this whole thing, we just ran a campaign around warranty as well to that extent. And it is about connectedness, it is about the legacy, it is about the trust in terms of what the brand has, in terms of what we kind of cultivate. And as we kind of go forward, we would like people to connect with the fact that today what they are embracing is something which is of a very high quality, for something which they can really trust and look at in terms of innovation, which continues to kind of give that warranty hands and legs to kind of really travel to that extent in a very strong manner. And therefore we said, like Har Ghar, today every second house talks of warranty. So Har Dusra Ghar speaks of warranty in India today in terms of the legacy we have.
Wonderful, the legacy of Asian Paints.
Absolutely.
And you know, in fact, you just succinctly captured the answer and gave me the answer to my next question, which was about, you know, how wonderfully you and the rest of your team at Asian Paints have steered Asian Paints, you know, evolution from a paint manufacturer to a complete home decor solutions. And if anybody walks into the Nilaya space here, Anthology, it is fantastic, fantastic. So I won't ask you to walk me through the milestones of that evolution. You've already told me about that, Amit. Amit, we've been talking about the industry and how fantastically well Asian Paints has performed. You know, it's a brand with a DNA that is performance-driven, consumer-centric, innovation and design-led. तो आप मुझे ये बताइए कि इंडस्ट्री की बात कर रहे थे हम, इंडस्ट्री की मेजर हेडविंड्स और टेलविंड्स जो शेप कर रही हैं इंडस्ट्री को, what are they? Just a bit of those for the youngsters, and how Asian Paints has strategically responded to them. आपने तो बता ही दिया. The tailwinds, you know, with all the home decor things and everything. So just talk about the headwinds and tailwinds for the industry today, for the paints and home decor industry.
So I think, Pawanji, I think it is very, very, you know, apparent that today, if Asian Paints has to be in league with the times, okay, we really kind of hear the consumer in terms of how consumer is changing and how consumer is evolving. And I think in this possibly now, the whole area of embracing the new segmentation, which is about the millennials, which is about the Gen Z, which is kind of coming today. Asian Paints is really appropriating and seeing that today we are embracing technology very, very strongly. We are talking of the whole area of decor, where we are embracing the whole area of visualization very strongly. So today we are bringing AI, we are bringing a lot of digital influences, so that today we are in with the times, we are able to offer the younger generation, the younger segment in terms of saying what is the best decor they can embrace, because today the knowledge, the reach of people is so, people are well traveled, people can access technology very easily, and therefore how can they get the best of the decors through the world of Asian Paints, and they can visualize that through the latest technology techniques in terms of what comes in. And not only that, we have kind of evolved into the whole area of service as well, where we look at world's largest painting service, which we have kind of come in, so that it's not only about visualization, it is about also execution made easy. Because sometimes in the word paint, the word T is silent. okay, and we want to kind of really alleviate that as Asian Paints in terms of what we can do, so that today we are kind of looking at alleviating the pain which is there and look at making visualization so great, at the same time execution becomes fairly easy, so that we can give people the home they imagine, the home they can really embrace, so that people, the whole story about Asian Paints is about beautiful homes.
Beautiful. You mentioned pain. Lovely pun, but very, very true, because I have seen a neighbor have this experience. Went to one of the newer ones, paint brands, saying, come to us, we'll give you the whole, one-stop kind of solution. And the kind of people who were sent by that dealer, they didn't want to give bills, पक्का बिल नहीं, estimate मिलेगा. और जो लोग आए काम करने के लिए, hard working people, but really not trained, just literally like picked up from some corner and made to work hard. So the finishing also was not good, and then there was nothing about, oh, the cracks that came out and whatever else. I'm just saying that I've seen it.
Yeah.
And how do you ensure that nothing of this sort of ever comes when it comes to an Asian Paints customer? Because eventually you have the guarantee also, which is rock solid. But still, how do you prevent any need for any guarantees to be availed of by the consumer?
So see, as we evolve in the world of design and decor, it's not about only conceptualization of good design. It's not about making good products. It's also about how you ensure that you make it work at the customer's place to that extent. So today Asian Paints has really invested in what we call as the BH Academies, which is the Beautiful Home Academies across the country.
Wonderful.
We have about 23 academies, which are fixed academies across the country. We train about 8 lakh people every year, 8 lakh people, which are painters, carpenters, plumbers, so that not only we kind of do skilling, we do the training so that they basically have a livelihood which is very, very strong. At the same time, we have a trained fraternity in the market in terms of what comes in, so that possibly today, whether it is waterproofing, whether it is decor, people are able to kind of really execute the job, so that whatever I have visualized, whatever I have seen is something which is really also executed in that way. And that is why, to give arms and legs to this Beautiful Homes Academy, we are taking trained painters from there and looking at appropriating this beautiful home painting service, which then today becomes a very strong tool in terms of reaching out to homes. And as we speak, we are able to reach to more than 2.5 lakh to 3 lakh homes every year, in terms of saying that today we offer you expert kind of painting solution, which is done by people trained in all these academies which come in. And as we kind of speak, this is something which we are committed to as a larger community of trained people in terms of what we get, so that we can give expression to the whole world of design, craftsmanship as we kind of go ahead, which is the larger good of the country in terms of what we can do, as a larger aspiration, as a leader in terms of what we can embrace.
Fabulous, fabulous. And what you just not just outlined but expatiated on was an important part of even the CSR aspect of this work. Not only does it help the whole ecosystem, but it also gives back to society and back to Asian Paints as a business also.
Absolutely.
I mean, it has to be a very nice melding of driving profit with purpose.
Sure.
I think.
Sure.
But also tell me about maybe the art district and other such CSR-led initiatives, which are very, very good and creating a lot of positive impact in the country.
So Pawanji, if I were to kind of really say that, one of the larger visions that Asian Paints always has been that how can we look at democratization of art, culture and design. Okay?
Wonderful.
And this is something which we have kind of really partnered with the Start Foundation. And it's a partnership over 1 decade over which we have kind of done, where we have now 7 design districts across the country, where we have districts in Delhi, in Mumbai, in Chennai, in Hyderabad, and so many places, where we have done almost about more than 500 murals across 29 cities in India to that extent.
Beautiful.
And that is something which is the appropriation of saying that we are looking at the whole process of looking at democratization of art so that we create living museums today for people to appreciate art culture in terms of the way they go and look at this from a regional and a community angle so that wherever we go, we are not talking of bringing one uniformity there, but we are trying to embrace the regionalism from the point of view of how people and communities embrace some of this art, culture and design, how it comes in. And to that extent, I think this is a very, very strong foray where we have seen not only embracing the bigger cities, we've also really done a very strong alignment. We have kind of partnered with the armed forces and looked at going to places like Tawang, Shillong, Northeast places where we have done today walls and surfaces which embrace the bravery of our armed forces along with the local culture, which seamlessly kind of comes together. Wonderful. And just to add more this thing, as Asian Paints, we have looked at also another chapter of this where we started something what is called the Start Care. Now under this we have kind of taken 3 very good projects. One was a project in Rajasthan where we basically aligned with a school which is a blind school for children, where we looked at doing work with the whole area of Asian Paints textures and colors so that we could kind of really see the connection of the students and we could bring them live the whole area of art, culture through just the sense of touch in terms of what we could do. And we recently have done basically a center in Baroda where we have looked at embracing a place so that today people with special sensibilities are able to embrace, enjoy, look at color in a very different way as we kind of go ahead. So I think as Asian Paints we are committed in terms of saying that not only in terms of embracing and democratizing design, we also look at possibly seeing how we can further the cause of color and look at decor, which becomes literally, you know, the center space for every home individual, so that today they talk of beautiful homes and beautiful communities outside as well.
Beautiful, well said. Really nice. Okay, Amit, now to leadership, people and culture at Asian Paints, right? You are respected for your people first leadership style. Asian Paints is respected for being a people first organization, whether they are people within the company and the whole group or the associates and kind of great work they do with and for them, even to give back to the community. So tell me, how do you remain people first, A, as an organization, and of course, as the individual that you are who's leading it?
Okay, I think that's a very interesting question, Pawanji. I think how I see it is that, you know, people and the culture at Asian Paints is the essence of our progress. Beautiful. If I were to kind of really say. Beautiful. And today I see that, you know, organizations evolve, okay, organizations grow, but today I think what stays is the culture. What stays is possibly the way you kind of embrace and hold people, support people in terms of your whole legacy as you kind of go ahead to that extent. Wonderful. And that is something which has been at the heart and the core of Asian Paints in terms of how we look at it. One, we have a very inclusive style in terms of working, where we would kind of really see that a person who's kind of entering the organization to the person who's at the top of the organization, everyone feels that they are working for the organization and their ideas are appreciated. So it's a very inclusive style where people get the freedom to do what they want. At the same time, they all also realize that today organization is working towards a certain direction and how they can basically get their creativity, their skills aligned to working in that space. But at the same time, they bring a lot of innovation and their own personal touch in that space. The second area is of empathy. I think that's another very big zone where we kind of look at saying we appreciate each individual from what he or she brings into the organization. Beautiful. And therefore we look at the whole area of inclusiveness, which is married with empathy in a very strong manner. And that is something which is another big nuance in terms of what we look at in terms of going. The third big area is the whole area of diversity, both from a point of view of multi-skills which we bring for the people, as well as possibly the dexterity of various genders kind of coming together in the organization to that extent. And therefore, the whole organization today speaks of something that everyone literally owns the brand. Everyone is a brand ambassador in his or her own way to that extent.
You empower them through that.
Yeah, and that is the whole story of empowerment in terms of what we keep on kind of looking at, saying as Asian Paints, how is that we are able to progress that. At the Same time, when with changing generations, we also look at the newer generations coming in terms of how would they like to kind of work, how would their lifestyles get impacted in terms of looking at taking Asian Paints to the new world. So I think we work with in terms of saying that today some of the places they work from are great, they are flexible, they look at in terms of the work which they can do, which possibly kind of embraces every form of place in terms of from where they can work into that extent. At the same time, there is an exhilaration today. For example, today a lot of people today participate within in Asian Paints as as people who kind of offer them to work on weekends for our CSR in terms of what we do today. And that is a self-generation, is a self-feeling which kind of comes into that extent. And therefore, I think this is the style of inclusivity, the style of empathy, looking at diversity, the style of empowerment, which kind of I feel that we keep it alive. And one of the things which we have learned from our owners and our directors who have come in is the whole style of looking at relationships.
Wonderful.
Okay, we used to speak of kitchen relationships at the point of time that today our owners kind of cultivated when we started way back in 1942, and that style of cultivating relationships is something which we keep live. Today, I personally look at in terms of saying that I know about 8,000 retailers by their first names. And
I was coming to that. I've been told that it's a fantastic thing, the manner in which you're connected with them, and I'm sure on a genuine kind of a relationship-driven thing. It's fantastic. Please go ahead. Tell me about this. So 8,000.
8,000 retailers.
Across the country, of course.
There could be plus minus 200, 300 here. But I feel that, the connectedness with them is beyond the business.
Absolutely.
And today...
genuine connectedness.
It's a connection from the heart.
Very
and
nice.
Today, you can't basically show that you are connected. Okay, people have to feel that you are connected to that extent.
Absolutely.
And that is what possibly I think one of the endeavors, and that is one area which I continuously work, that possibly that is the culture we are able to kind of really transfer, inculcate, imbibe and nurture in terms of our people who are coming in, because that's the essence of the brand in terms of as we go forward today, because business will come, and that is how we see that generations of retailers connect with us. It's not only the older generation, today the newer generation is connecting with us to that extent. And I think therefore the personal style of leadership is also far impacting how it shapes the culture of the organization to that extent.
Very, very well said. Fantastic. Very important lesson here for everybody who's watching, not just the youngsters, but even company promoters and industry captains, because this is fantastic. So Amit, you've really distilled the whole work culture and DNA of the organization beautifully, and also shown how nicely it's interlinked with the kind of leadership that it gives to internal and external people. And then, so, which brings me to a very important question.
Sure.
Which is, and it's going to be a lot of, insights and inspiration for youngsters and older professionals alike. Your own journey. Talk about the 3 top learnings you always hold sacred. MT se MD tak. You must have been through a lot of things, and that realization has made you so fantastically people-oriented. So what are the 3 most important learnings from your entire career with Asian Paints till today?
Okay, I think one of the underlying learnings has been that, which I have always embraced, is that you work with passion and your heart into the job.
Beautiful.
Okay. And that is something which has been the essence that today, and I keep on telling people that if you think that you're not able to put your passion and heart, you have to think why you're working. Okay. And that is something which I have embraced from my first job, in terms of which was a sales job which I did. And I think I continuously embrace the fact that today, if you're not about passion, if you are not about that energy which you bring, today you will not be able to survive in any corporate to that extent. Correct. In terms of going forward. The second big learning is that there is no antidote or there is no alternative to hard work and perseverance.
Wonderful.
I feel that today you will have to kind of really do the basics. You will have to be in the marketplace. You will have to kind of really look at, being where the action is to that extent. And therefore, there is always has to be a very strong correlation between thought and execution in terms of what you need to kind of bring in. And that execution can be only taken to the next level if you are at the marketplace, if you are at the action place in terms of what you are doing.
Personally persevering.
Yes. And the third area which is there, which I always believe is very strong, is the fact that you have to kind of really look at that you are able to embrace every part of the organization where you stay in. I moved from sales to manufacturing to marketing to R&D to supply chain to international to all forms of business in terms of home improvement, decor and so on and so forth. I feel that today that is possibly one of the things which is required, that as individuals, you have to become a generalist along being a specialist today in an organization to that extent. If you really want to kind of see that you are possibly connecting overall with what the organization is doing. And the last point, आपने 3 बोले, मैं 4 बोलता हूँ. So, Pavanji, the fourth point which I feel that Asian Paints, which I have learned, which is very important, is the whole area of looking at management. People management, I think, is the crux which possibly I think I have learned in various roles, and which has held me really being there in terms of looking at, one, being connected, second, being on the ground, and the third, from the point of view of saying that I have been able to kind of then really believe and cultivate this whole cord and connection with all the people across, which comes in very, very strongly. So it is about people management, which is a very, very strong thing, which today for any leader, if you are connected with people, if you are able to manage people of diverse generations, diverse attitudes, diverse cultures, I think that is something which is the essence of any leader, which can really propel you forward to do things which are very different and very amazing.
Wonderful insights. Let's speak about reputation now. Very, very important. A good reputation, people say, everybody says, is a huge critical need for any business. We know that. And the belief today is that more and more commonly held, that MDs and CEOs must make it a primary responsibility of their own, right? So do you agree? And how do you ensure that there is a strong reputation consciousness in all your employees and associates at Asian Paints?
So, I think very insightful question, Pavanji. I must compliment you for that. And I think it's something which, at Asian Paints is paramount in terms of what we believe, because I would kind of relate that reputation and culture is something which kind of go hand in hand, because today culture kind of creates the reputation in terms of what is to the extent.
Absolutely.
And therefore, I think we are very mindful of this in terms of which is there. And today I feel that reputation is both top down and bottom up. Actually, okay, so it's not a one-way process in terms of what we see, and that is something which we kind of really invoke in terms of everything we do. So whether it is in terms of the mannerism of our frontline person, how he deals with an external entity, which is an external stakeholder, or it is in terms of how possibly a senior manager would deal with people inside, okay, I think everything is related to reputation, as I see it.
Absolutely.
And today I feel that a brand is made by the people within to that extent, and therefore the reputation of the brand is something which is paramount in terms of today's world to take it to the next level and create today a connectedness, create a certain empathy, create a certain area of aura around the brand as we kind of go ahead to that extent. And therefore, I think it is a very essential thing that as an organization we continuously nurture that culture, so that from a point of view of reputation, today, people talk of the certain values which the organization has, and namely in some of those values, one of the values is about looking at customer passion. The second value is about standing for each other's success, okay, which is a very unique value in terms of what we prophesize in taking forward. And the third area is of having the whole area of saying that there is a relationship which is paramount with both the external and the internal stakeholder which we bring, and it has the bedrock of integrity which kind of it's
Wonderful,
basically comes on.
wonderful.
So I think these are some tenets which we kind of look at, and as I said, I think it's a journey. It continues to that extent, and I think it is something which it is like a mountain which has no peak.
Fabulous. Well said. Well said. And how important is it, in short, to have a good reputation partner like an external PR agency or a strategic advisor on those lines? How important is it for you?
I think it is very, very important in terms of what we see, because today's world is so dynamic that even a small spark which comes here and there can kind of get into a little bit of a flame which can be very different to that extent. And therefore, for all our partners, whether it is a PR agency, whether it is a good creative agency in terms of what we work with, or whether it is in terms of any other external stakeholder we work with, I think they have to marry into the values in terms of what we look at, and how do they look at safeguarding that reputation, I think is something which is paramount to us.
Amit, I really enjoyed our conversation. So many insights and the passion that you and your team bring to furthering the great legacy of Asian Paints. And I see how subservient you are to the big brand. You know, it's always about Asian Paints. It's not about Amit from your side.
Absolutely.
So that's a wonderful self-effacing quality, you know. And I think it's leaders like you who actually help build a brand, make it bigger every time. And I'm sure, you know, delight the board and the others who help you, guide you, empower you, and look to you for the kind of leadership that you provide for their people and teams. So I enjoyed the conversation. What did you think of your chat with me on the Master's Voice podcast?
So, Pawanji, first I felt that very, very insightful questions. Okay, I must say that you were as passionate as possibly, you know, asking those questions and being into the conversation, and it was not something which you were doing just for the sake of it to that extent. I thought it was a very, very involved, insightful kind of conversation. I really enjoyed it as well in terms of looking at it, and I think you know, the way the conversation went, we could spend another hour, and I really kind of really was delighted and really enjoyed the conversation with you, and you were so insightful in terms of the way you kind of really conducted it.
You're very kind. Thank you very much on behalf of my entire team, and thanks also once again to Madison PR and Amrita Sadhu and her entire team. There are 4 other people here, so I won't take all the names, but you know, thank you Madison, thank you Amrita, and of course thank you ever so much Amit Syngle. I really enjoyed this conversation.
Yeah, thank you, Pawanji. It was really a great experience.
Thank you. So that was my conversation with Amit Syngle, MD and CEO of Asian Paints, on this episode of MVP The Master's Voice podcast from Mediabrief.com. I hope you enjoyed it and found it as rewarding as I most certainly did. Till we meet again in the next episode of MVP The Master's Voice podcast, this is your host and friend Pavanar Chawla saying, take care, stay safe, bye-bye.